Mhm.
Yes, we can start now, I guess.
Yes, so can we start?
Niharika, it's fine? Live?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I should start.
Yes, ma'am. A very good morning to one and all present here. Honorable Principal Dr. Pooja Ramchandani ma'am, Vice Principal Dr. Rani Tyagi ma'am, respected teachers, esteemed guests, and our dear FYs. Myself, Akshat Raheja, and Niharika are the hosts for today. HR College of Commerce and Economics is a distinguished constituent college under Hyderabad Sindh National Collegiate University, Mumbai, proudly standing as a beacon of academic excellence and holistic development. With over 6,000 students enrolled in both degree and junior college programs, our institution maintains a perfect gender balance, fostering an inclusive learning environment. We welcome you to the induction series organized by HR College for our first year undergraduate students. The program is designed to provide you with invaluable exposure and learning opportunities, setting a strong foundation for your next 3 years. Through various sessions and activities,
I think we lost Akshat.
Niharika, would you like to continue?
Yes, ma'am. I'll start with introducing our principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani ma'am. Dr. Pooja Ramchandani ma'am is a pillar that makes it possible for us to shine our brightest. Ma'am has been an integral part of our college community, serving as a faculty member in the Department of Commerce since the year 2000. With over 2 decades of dedicated service, including a tenure as vice principal, she has fostered numerous student associations under her guidance. Dr. Ramchandani's life philosophy revolves around nurturing responsible student leaders who drive positive societal change. She firmly believes that hard work is the key to achieving success and excellence, with no substitute. I would like to call upon Dr. Tasneem Rasmi ma'am to introduce our speaker today.
Hello, everyone, all FIs, all the other faculty members here. Good morning. On a nice rainy day, we've met today. So let's start. And I would like to introduce today Dr. Mr. Bhavin Doshi. He's the head of Operational Risks and Management Controls at Sher Khan, which is a BNP Paribas arm engaged in stockbroking activity. Mr. Bhavin has total work experience of 27 years, and he's a trained chartered accountant and MBA finance. He has joined Sher Khan as a risk manager in 2007 from an audit firm, Borkar and Mazumdar. And he started his career in Kenya, East Africa, where he was working as head accounts and finance. In his 17-year-long career in Sher Khan, he has garnered rich and varied experience, having been exposed to equities and commodity broking, risk monitoring, risk policies, business management information systems, and operational risk control. He is credited with setting up the operational risk control and the internal financial control framework at Sher Khan. In addition to this, he is a member of Board of Studies for various educational institutions like SIES and our own HR college, and thus is helping to bridge the gap between industry and academia. And this is something which is the need of the hour today, especially in the field of education. So we are very happy to have him here with us to address our first years. And without further ado, I'll bring him on. And sir, the session is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the warm introduction and the nice welcome. Thank you so much, Tasneem and everyone. Hello, good morning, everyone. Am I loud and clear?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Fine, guys. So it's very nice to see that early morning lecture also. I can see so many participants attending this lecture. It shows the clear interest that what everyone is having in this topic as well. Before we start the session, we all are here for some learning. And as we know that wherever we are in our journey of the career, definitely the finance will be one of the most important topic. Few of the subjects which we learn during the college, probably we might not use it practically, but these are still important to clear our exams. But finance is the only subject which is going to be useful even after our college days. Even after once we get the degree, without the knowledge of the finance, definitely we cannot have the financial stability in the life. So finance is one of the very important topic. And at the same time, as we know that in the current markets, in the current scenario, where we are standing and how the overall economy is doing, it is much, much important for each of us to know that how the Indian economy is doing along with its stock market journey. Coming to the topic, now as we can see that our session's name is the Decoding Dalal Street. Now probably some of you who are quite younger in the age, they might think that what is this Dalal Street? So if I can just share my next screen, this is the building, the iconic tower, which is at the CST Bombay. I hope each of us are aware about this, and this building looks quite familiar to it. We call it as a Bombay Stock Exchange. So this is a very famous, iconic building, as I said, this the Bombay Stock Exchange. And if you see the address of it, it is located at the Dalal Street. As it is located at the Dalal Street, somehow the street itself is associated with the entire environment of these stock exchanges. And why the Dalal Street is so much important that even now when we Google it as a Dalal Street and the D Street, the first thing comes up with regards to this notifications only, that what is happening in the overall stock markets of the India. Now, why only this Dalal Street is very important? Why the name is given there? Because this particular Bombay Stock Exchange is established somewhere long back in 1875. So it's 150 years we are having this legacy, and it started from a banyan tree. So this is just to give a historic perspective. We are just taking you to down the line in the history that 150 years ago, can we imagine that, how the people used to trade, how people used to communicate, how people used to interact with each other. So just to give you some perspective, 1975 was the year when few of the brokers, they were not even knowing that they were not having that terminology as a broker and investor and everything. So few of the people, they started having the discussion that, how the ship chandlers can transport the goods from one country to another country, and without taking much risk, how someone can make money. So what they used to do, that the group of 5 people, then people joined gradually more and more. They started taking minuscule share in the journey of those ships. When the shipment will leave from one country and it reach to the other country, there can be some consequences, there can be some risk that, something happens during the journey. Maybe the ship will not reach safely, maybe the goods will get damaged or something like that. So once it is landed at the another port, at the destination port, if they are making money, each of them will get to share of those profits. That's how, and only one person, only big companies used to do that. Big shipping companies used to do that. But these people thought that, even we can contribute a bit. And that's how they started having a share in that entire transaction. And that's how the stock exchange and the share market entire concept begins. Now, as we know that in 1875, this is the exact location where it happened. This is the exact banyan tree where the Asia's first stock exchange was initiated in a different form. What we are seeing nowadays is entirely different. And we can see the founder member, which is the Premchand Roychand, who initiated this entire thing and who was the member of it. If I give you some perspective about the Premchand Roychand, each of us must have visited or at least must have seen the Rajabai Clock Tower, which is a very famous clock tower near our Mumbai University. So even that clock tower is built by this businessman, the Premchand Roychand. He was one of the 5 members. He was the lead initiator, and he is still credited to have this journey of the Bombay Stock Exchange since its inception. Now, initially, gradually, then the changes happened. From Banyan Tree, they have had their own little bit small office, which has been shifted to Dalal Street, which was just at the next corner. And that's how the people, the veterans in the market, are still calling the entire stock exchange as the Dalal Street only. Now, this is the ring. Probably few of you might have not gone through the journey of the stock market, that, how it is taking place. This is somewhere, around 30-40 years, we used to deal like this. People used to gather. They used to auction the shares. So if someone is interested in buying some shares, they will just intimate in advance. And then the main brokers, you can see all the people, you must have seen some series now, and even the OTT platforms are there, which is just, showing that, how the market is developed. So this is called the ring. Now you must be wondering that, how you can place the trade in advance, how you can say that there is a price difference, and so many things. Now at the fingertip, you can see everything on your mobile. You know what is the movement. So these are some of the sign languages, the code languages, and these gestures mean everything. This is how they used to communicate. And to be very frank, when even I joined this thing, this was not existing anymore. So even I was not able to guess it, what this sign means. So I don't think that this is in practice anymore. And I don't think that any of us, or maybe your parents also, will be aware about this sign language, because this is no more existing. Maybe, for 30-40 years, people used to have this before the further development in the market. So just to give you the perspective again over here, the first sign indicates the 5 or the 50. Second sign indicates the 1. Third sign indicates the 15, and so forth. So this is how they used to communicate. So the broker will take some sort of idea that where the investor wants to invest money, and then they will be allowed to enter the ring. And then from that ring, they will see that, what is happening at the live session. And then they used to pass on the message with these gestures, with these hand gestures. And if the investor will agree, they will use to trade on their behalf. They used to have a small diary where they used to note it down. So this is the actual scene from the market. That's how this brokers used to deal. And there was a lot of chaos and everything. And in few movies also, you can see, you can feel this, and this is entirely alien world when we are thinking as of now, when we are quite tech savvy. So this is the scene, and this is the journey of the Dalal Street. Now, as we know that the Bombay Stock Exchange, which is since with us from past 150 years, it is the world's 10th largest stockbroker. Now you might feel that, why we are talking about the BSE. NSE is also, like most of you are much aware about the NSE only. People are always talking about the NSE. How come the BSE is the most old stock exchange, but still more familiar name is the NSE? This is some of the comparison, the facts and figures. I assume that all of you are aware about these basics of the market, that what is a stock exchange. That's how we have started the journey. And now we know that, what is happening out there. These are just the numbers to give you, again, some detailed insights of the difference between these two exchanges. So as we know that the BSE, very, very, very old exchange, which is like 150 years old legacy we have with regards to the Bombay Stock Exchange, while the NSE is quite new. It just established in 1992. Now for BSE, we have almost 6,000 companies which are listed over there, while in the case of NSE, only 2,000 companies are there. Even the market cap, as you can see, that it's 26 million crores market cap is there with the BSE, while in case of NSE, it's just 15 million crores. So still, the next line will be a little bit surprising that still BSE is having a 10th position in the global markets, while in the case of NSE, it's the 8th stock market. So obvious question will come up to each of us that, how this has happened. And for that, we are having the major credit goes to the technologies. And on this side, we can see that, the network. BSE has a reach for the 1420 cities, while in case of NSE has a reach of 1500 cities. And how it is possible to manage that reach within this short time span of 30 years is just because of the technology. So as the next line suggests that the technology was there with NSE since inception. Can anybody tell me that which system, if we have any idea, which system is used by the NSE similar to Bolt, what the BSE is using? Yeah, okay. I probably that's too technical, but yes. So when we call the trading platforms in BSE as a Bolt, in that case, the NSE is called as the NEAT. NEAT is the name of the systems which the NSE is using. So coming to the original topic, that why, and someone has put the question in the chat box also, why the NSE is having number 8. So this is the answer. First of all, the technology driven, plus they have a very huge product lines. And on my next slide, we will have the detailed answer that how NSE become the more popular. First of all, as we discussed, the technologies, they are totally automated platform where manual interventions were not there. Second thing, the products. They came up with the new products which suits each sort of investors, So investors can select what they will like to go for. Cash, derivatives. Within the derivatives, there are, future and options and so many different products. And the transparency. So as I said that initially when the D Street, the broker used to deal, they used to note it down on the paper, and there can be some chances that, probably investors might get some sort of losses in case of the non-transparency. The rates can be something different, but with regards to the NSE, it was like from one person to another person, and only the broker will get the commission in between, and person will be able to see the transaction rate on the very same day. Next feature is about the liquidity, because NSE is having a much more reach. They are having much more participation. Because the participation is much more, definitely the more people will trade over there, and the more liquidity will be generated over there. That's the reason, again, NSE is very, very popular amongst all the traders and as well as investors. Efficiency and the regulatory environment. What does the regulatory environment mean? The SEBI. SEBI is one of the regulatory bodies who is managing the entire stock market of the India. They allow the brokers, they allow what sort of investors norms should be there. And they are the one who is initiator for this entire concept of NSE. And they have this sort of comfort level that NSE can launch the product without any prior approval, with obviously with some caveat. But this is how the NSE will be always in a forefront to produce, to offer some more products. So I hope this answers your questions. Now, this is the scenario where we can see initially we have seen that, people used to give a hand gesture. They used to go to ring and they used to trade. And this is the new system-based broker's office where one person, and this till date, this is fact. Okay. So if you happen to visit any broker's office, probably the number of screens are little less, but still you will see a one person sitting with multiple screens, so that they will be able to have an overview on all the changes of the scripts where they are interested, where they have any positions or something like that. So this is little bit shocking that, still even during this age also, why people are doing like this, but this is necessary. So this is the picture of the typical stockbroker's office where automated trading systems are taking place. And now this is the trading at investors' fingertip. So like you and me, without having to call your broker, you can directly place a trade from your mobile. Can you just tell me that how many of you are already trading through this, or maybe your family members, your parents or siblings are trading through this mobile? If anyone is trading in your family, just say yes in the chat box. That's great. So many yes. Okay. Great. So now, as we all know, that there is this quite simple way of trading has been invented. And all this is because of the technology-driven thing. I can see Satyam has raised his hand. Niharika or someone, can you please unmute him? Or probably Shivam, you can put into the chat. Shyam, sorry, not Shiva.
So I think he was answering to your earlier question.
Sorry, you are not able to. Acha, okay. Okay. Got it. Fine. So to continue further, so this is the journey what we have had from one small banyan tree to some sort of hand gestures the trading used to place. From there, we have moved to the computer-age systems, and now everything, the entire world is in our mobile. Without mobile, we cannot survive. Similarly, like there is that the broker's need is almost eliminated. Still, brokers are important, but you don't have to call them. You don't have to deal with them on a daily basis. You have to just enroll yourself, and then you can do the trading. And I'm quite impressed that many of you are trading on your own. So that's quite good, and this will be helpful to you in the future as well. Now, this is something basic where I will not like to spend much of the time, that why to invest. So I understand that each of you are aware about it, that there's a difference between savings and investment. Saving is mainly for the capital preservation, where you like to have your capital intact with regards to where you earn some fixed rate of interest also. But when we talk about the investment is mainly with the intention of creating wealth. You try to invest the money where you get the maximum returns over there. So capital preservation is one of your goal, but at the same time, you want to beat the inflation also. You want to create wealth also. You just don't want to get, because these are the basic concepts, as you all are aware about it. I assume so, that whenever we put any money in bank FDs, the rate of the FD and the inflation rate are almost close by. So your 1 rupee will give you 108 rupees in the next year, but by that time your cost of purchase will be again increasing by the almost same rate. So you are not making any capital over there. You are just preserving your capital. So to invest is something else where you are willing to create wealth, and particularly at your age, definitely this should be the aim. Where to invest is, again, many of you are quite advanced in the financial terminology, and you are quite financially literate. And this generation is doing really very well. To be very frank, when I was in college, probably I was not exposed to all this knowledge which is available on YouTube, internet, and Google, So we used to know whatever has been taught to us. But now your generation is exposed to entire field. You are aware about what is happening in the global market, what is happening in the world around you, what is happening, what are the products are there available in the America. So these are just the traditional example where people used to invest. Initially, it's just agriculture produce, then it went to gold, it went to real estate. Probably your grandfathers or four grandfathers, they must have invested in real estate only, because that was the safest haven for them. And then your parents, they must have started with the bank deposits, and then younger parents with equities, debentures, and bonds. And now it's time for you generation, where you guys are already thinking about the AIFs. Though it's each of this class of assets are having a different risk and different returns. Each of the class requires some sort of detailed understanding, and will not like to go into the detail of the each class, but these are just the main categories where you can think about parking the money, and you have to define this. For the subsequent slides, we will see that, what should be how should be the approach towards it. The main parameters for all your investments is the return potential, safety, and liquidity. So as I said, that initially people used to think about only the safety, whether my capital will remain intact. Okay, can you put everyone on mute, please? Yeah. So first, as I was saying that, for the initially when the bank deposits, as an example, I'm just putting it, we used to think only about the safety, whether this bank will survive. If it is a national bank, definitely there is a creditability, so the safety will be there. And there will be some new cooperative bank which does not have a huge history behind it. Probably you might be a little bit suspicious, and then that's the reason they used to offer you a little bit higher rate of interest. That's about the safety. But now what comes as a return potential? What is the return what you are expecting from this class of investments? That is much, much important now. This is again the type of analysis when it comes to when you are willing to invest somewhere, where you should invest. It's economic analysis should be there, fundamental and technical. Each of these analysis is having a detailed knowledge and the detailed parameters to identify. These are just the thing that before you start investing, you should know the basics of this, that how the company is doing and what are the prospects. And this will be possible from the fundamental analysis. Technical will be once you are already a pro into the market, and then you feel that, now I have a better understanding, and now let me go for the further advancement. And then you will see some charts, but this is not for the common investors. This is mainly for the traders. And I will be not surprised if some of you are already using the technical analysis also. Now, before we start the journey, we should always remember that what are our financial goals. With our goals, we have to tag what sort of assets classification we have to select. And we all are having some different goals. Probably you might to have to pursue your further studies, and you might have to save for that. You might to go for a foreign vacation, and you might have to save for that. So these are the different goals. Someone will like to save for their future big event like wedding or some sort of contingency. So that should be there. Review periodically. So once you have invested, it's not like that, for the bank FD, once you invested, you just forget it. And once the FD gets matured, you just withdraw it. But here in stock market, if you want to have a higher return, you have to review it periodically. And why? Because this market is not static. It's very dynamic. So we have to review with regards to the market returns, where we are investing, what is the current rate of return, what we are getting on it, and how the overall market is doing well. Okay. And as it is already mentioned on the screen also, that no stock remains the best all the time. The stock returns are always fluctuating. It's very important at what level you have invested and at what level you have exited. So this is very important for us to know. And for that, just again on the chat box, can someone guess, or can someone tell me, have you heard about the Wipro's return since it's in IPO in 1980? You must have heard about the Wipro, who is now, the technology driven company. Okay, anyone is aware about, if in 1980 you have invested 10,000 rupees, what is the value of Wipro as of date? Right, Daksh? Almost close by. Yes, Manan. Yes. So yes, absolutely, you are quite close by. So as you guys have mentioned rightly, if you have invested 10,000 rupees in 1980, now you will be having almost 600 crores with you. So can you imagine the returns, what the Wipro has generated to its customers, to its investors, sorry. Wipro is the best example, but that does not mean that the Wipro is the only example. We have n number of examples. And you might feel that 1980 में 10,000 किसके पास होगा? It's a huge amount. It's a really a huge amount in 1980 also, but it's never the late. In after 10 years, 20 years, because you guys are still just entering in this entire financial markets, you guys will start earning, and you guys should. This is my personal advice that seriously you guys should think about it. This is the golden era of India, of Indian economy, and you should really pay attention to that. You should start investing. Considering your risk appetite, you should start investing in the stock markets. And if we don't want to spend a lot of time in research and everything, definitely we should start referring to mutual funds. In the chat, I can see one, Bajaj Finance also. Bajaj Finance is also having very good return. And I can see a question that which book should we read for the understanding? So Jayesh, question is valid, but books will always give you the theoretical knowledge. You will learn it more when you do it practically. And when I say practically, I will never suggest that put all your eggs in one basket. You should always think wisely. You should always put money as per your risk appetite. When I say risk appetite, means you are willing to lose that money in case your bet goes wrong, in case your investment decision goes wrong, you are willing to lose that money. And to give some perspective, for example, once you go to a restaurant, it's like 500 rupees. If you go for a party, which you all must be going, it's 1,500 minimum. That's what I anticipate. It can be a little bit more and less also, case to case basis. So think about it that every month you are just foregoing one of your outing and you are having an SIP of just 1,000 rupees, just 2,000 rupees. And that SIP, you just check it after 6 months or 1 year. Don't check it on a daily basis because it does not, maybe the market will not support on the immediate basis. So you have to just check it after 1 year or 2 years, and then you see that, what return it has been generated. And once you will have that flavor, once you will see those numbers, it will interest you more. It will motivate you more that, okay, fine, if I forgo my vada pav, if I forgo my burger for once, and if I'm having so much amount in my kitty, let's do it quite often. And this is not just to pursue you guys to enter into market, but this is for the future prospect of this overall market journey. And I want that each of you guys should contribute in it and you should benefit out of it. But again, as I said, that some sort of calculation should be there. It's not like that I felt that this should be good and I invested. No, always think about the company's perspective and always go for the safer investments to start with. Okay, to continue with our topic, now we are thinking about the global markets, the aerial view. And as many of you are already trading and everything, so I'm sure that you all are having that confidence in the market, in the Indian economy and the Indian scenario, what is happening now. And as on the next slide, we can see that, the current stock market in India has reached the 5 trillion USD. But when it comes to the global markets, where the America stands, 50 trillion, we are not even 1/10 of the America. That's quite shocking, but yes, that's true. And we feel that, Indian markets are doing quite well, which is also 100% true, that Indian markets are doing quite well. But can you see the potential? If we have to reach there, what should be the overall potential? These are some numbers where the active investment is taking place with regards to the Indian household. In USA, 55% of the population is investing actively. The amount can changes anytime, but almost 50% is investing. While it comes to India, we are just at 3%. So can you imagine that more and more participation will be there? where the India will stand. These are again just some numbers. As I said, that US is like 50 trillion crossed, and we are at still number 4. This number again, on some website, because these parameters are different for each calculation. So on some website might say that India is on the 5th number or something like that. But the fact is we have reached the market cap of the 5 trillion. Now let's deep dive into the current status of the Indian market, where we are. Now, if we see that these are some numbers again, it's a little bit interesting for you. That's the reason I kept these numbers, that what is the potential of the market. In the first line, we can see that every month, the Indians, 20 lakhs, almost on an average, 20 lakhs Indians are investing in the market. And if you have not yet started, it's your time that you should also start your journey for your betterment. Okay, none of the faculty or us, we are not going to benefit out of your journey, but you should be getting that benefit. And that's the reason we feel that Indian market is really supporting the entire economy, and you should also take part in that. The next is again something technical. It is the next line is about the cash volumes and the options volumes. So this is, many of you might be already aware about it, cash trading and the options trading. And many of you might be quite new to it. So just to create the curiosity, I intentionally kept this slide. And as you can see that, the clients who are trading maximum in the cash, and they are generating the huge volumes on a daily basis. So when we talk about the volumes, it's almost like more than 1 lakh crore on a daily basis. And when it comes to the index options, in only index options we are talking about, so that's about the half of it. Again, these are just numbers. Which state is doing very well? They are much financial literacy, and they are having a more faith in the stock markets. And as we all can see that the Maharashtra is the number 1. Within Maharashtra, the Mumbai is the number 1. And in Mumbai, we all belongs to. And that's the reason, we feel that the financial literacy is quite important for the entire journey of the stock market. This is the same figures what we have mentioned. As we can see, as we are seeing that the Maharashtra is the number 1. And the next comes the UP, who has the maximum new participants in the stock markets. Now, this is a city-wise, but this is just the numbers. Delhi is the number 1 when it comes to the particular city, and the Mumbai is still the number 2, and so forth. And initially, the Surat, Ahmedabad, Baroda, so Gujarat and the Gujarat community were the real participants now. But as we can see that because of this tech savviness, because of the technological changes, even the other cities are quite ahead of these cities. So this is really very good sign that more and more participation is coming from the cities where we have a more financial literacy. And we are blessed that we all are from the Mumbai. Okay. Now, this is quite interesting, and I will like to spend 2 minutes on this, that, this is something, the age-wise distribution. So at moment, whatever the investors we have, at moment we have almost 18 crores investors. But if we remove all the duplications of the industry, we just have 10 crores investors who are having an account with us. If we know that the India's population is reaching almost 140 CR, okay, 130 CR at least. So 130 CR, out of that 130 CR, we just have 8 CR investors. So can we see that, what is the percentage we are talking about? It's not even 10%. And we have a long journey. And if everyone is starting to invest in the markets, can we see the potential of the market? And now these numbers are suggesting that in 2018, the age group less than 30 years, the 22% people were participating. When it comes to now, you can see the number in March 2022 where we are standing, it's a 40%. So almost double than where we used to be there 6 years back. And can you imagine, once you will be graduated after 3 years and probably, your post-graduation and something after 6 years, what can be this number? So again, my message is that financial literacy is playing very important role. people have started thinking about this market at the younger age. Younger population is quite interesting to understand this market, and they have the faith, they have the overall belief, and that's how the more money is getting attracted in the market, and the market is automatically generating the more incomes and the returns. And this is the entire ecosystem. So these numbers are for the age-wise participation, and obviously the somewhere the percentage will get reduced also. And in the, as you can see that, you know, the 60 years and above is the most. Yeah, someone wants to say anything? Okay, fine. In the next session, again, just about it's with regard to the age only. So the median age and the mean age, probably we can just see it later on. And in the interest of time, I will just quickly run to the next slide, where again, the turnover wise, I will like to give you insight that as we all can see that, I hope you are able to see my cursor also, that in May 24, how many investors have traded for less than 10,000 rupees? So 41 lakh customers have traded less than 1,000 rupees, and they have generated the total turnover of 600 CR. When it comes to 26,000, the bottom line of the table, 26,000 investors have traded almost 77% of the volume. They have created 77% of the volume in the market. This is mainly with regards to the HNIs and the institutional investors, but we have to be somewhere around. And again, this is just to give you the market perspective. This entire session is to give you the detailed insight of the market so that you can start thinking about it if you have not started yet. So where the market is and how the investors are, you know, growing gradually. The next slide is again with regards to the option market. Let's not deep dive into it. These are the cash turnovers, the state-wise, just numbers. We can just skip that. Now, as I said, that if someone is entirely new to the market and they just don't want to start having their own research, they have to select their own stocks, because obviously you cannot invest in 5,000 stocks. So you have to select your best bet, but you are not willing to do that. Then without me saying, the best option is mutual funds. And I'm sure all of you are aware about the mutual funds. Now, this topic, this graph is a little bit interesting to replicate. As you can see that in March 2021 and till May 2024, the orange line which you can see in the middle is the number of schemes, which is almost steady. Almost steady. The number of schemes are still same in the mutual fund markets. But when it comes to the amount, the AUM, which has been, you know, available with the mutual fund AMCs, it was earlier around 25 lakh crore, and now it was reached up to 60 lakhs crore, which is more than double. This is quite interesting to know, I suppose. And again, the next slide is just about the SIP. As during the session, as I said, that you have to start small. No one is expecting that, you know, you should take a big bets and you should start investing in lakhs rupees. Start with 500. And these are the numbers for the SIPs, which is flowing into the Indian economy, Indian stock markets. In September 2016, where we were less than 5,000. And now every month, 20,000 CR is coming to market only by the route of SIP. We are not talking about the lump sum investments in mutual funds. We are not talking about the direct equity. We are talking about only SIPs. So you can see that, you know, what is the journey, what is the overall growth of the market, and what is the overall participation, how the participation has increased up to great level. So this is mainly with regards to the market participation and how the market has grown, even how the market has evolved gradually, how the market technologies have supported the market. And those who are obviously in touch with the market, they must be knowing already what is happening with regards to the regulatory changes. Market is so dynamic that every now and then there are a couple of changes. Now, I will just, if you have any questions, we can just go for the questions on any particular slide or any particular concept. Meanwhile, I will try to go through the chats also. Someone is asking me about the stock specific, but yeah, the stocks are good, but yeah, I will not like to comment on it. Someone has asked about the market trend, which is a little bit down at moment. So yes, obviously the market is a little bit down, but it does not mean that because you have the specific questions, I am sure that you are observing the market, you are following the market, and the consolidation should take place somehow. You cannot expect every time it should go up, every day it should go up. So there should be some sort of consolidation. Then there will be a scope to have a higher jump. So this is a clear principle and market is just reacting to it. But otherwise, on the floor, overall scenario is quite bullish about the markets. But again, when you start investing, don't be over optimistic. You have to, as I initially during the session, as I said, that you have to calculate your own risk. You are willing to forego that money, that only should be invested in the market, not the everything. Can you suggest some good trading apps? Yes, there are so many trading apps, but we all are aware about the yesterday's cyber incident with regards to the Microsoft. So I'm sure everyone is aware about it. You all are quite updated about it. So the classical brokerage and the discount brokerage, these are the two separate things, which someone has already put it in the chat, that the Zerodha, yes, Zerodha, Grow, ET Money, End Money, all these are the apps where you can trade on your own. But at the same time, we are having some sort of classical brokers like Sher Khan, Motilal Oswal, Angel, 5paisa, IIFL, so all these brokers will provide you some sort of services. And I understand that, by now you are understanding the difference. When you are trading with the Zerodha and the Grow, you have to do everything on your own. And if you are requesting even a simple thing, there will be a charge for that. While you are going to Motilal Oswal or the Angel one, they will be serving you up to certain level without any additional cost. So this is the cost benefit analysis you have to do, and then you have to proceed with regards to your choice of broker. The next question is, okay, it's about individual's personal portfolio. Okay, so what is the view of the budget? Okay, budget, yes, good. So budget is just ahead. It's on Tuesday. And budget, yes, and that's the reason somehow, as I said, that the market consolidation is there, so that once the budget will be out, the sector which will be benefiting from the budget will do definitely good, and the sectors which will be penalized, which might be penalized, will not do quite well on the same day. But if the fundamentally the companies are good, definitely it will be doing well. So just to connect there, for example, the ITC. So ITC was the initially Indian tobacco company, as you all are aware about it, and as the name itself suggested. So initially, when the tobacco was banned and the duties and everything was levied, ITC was not doing well for a number of years. But later on, when ITC diversified, they are demerging also, and now ITC is quite doing well. So it depends on the fundamental of the company. The next question is about the budget again. How often should we check if once you're investing in the mutual fund, how often should we check for fluctuations? So mutual funds, there is always a fund manager. So you shouldn't be quite worried about the mutual fund investments. Obviously, once you are making a decision, you should have a look at the history of the mutual fund and the fund manager, that what is the return they have generated in the past. But once you have banked on that person, it is not necessary that every month or every quarter you have to keep on visiting your mutual fund portfolio, because there is someone already doing on your behalf. And that's the reason, obviously, they are charging commissions as well. But then you are not quite worried because someone is taking care of your portfolio. But when it's your direct investment, no one is going to take a decision on your behalf. So you have to keep on revisiting it on a frequent interval. Can you explain the difference between Zerodha and Angel One? So Angel One is again the discount broking, but Zerodha and maybe Motilal Oswal, Okay, so Zerodha is having a only basic services where you should have your own cash. You should have a bank in your bank account. You should have your cash, and then you will be able to transact. And if you are asking for a smallest favor, for example, I just want to have this statement. Everything is available on the computer. But if you are having any queries, then the simple thing you call their customer service also, they will charge you. While it comes to Motilal Oswal or Sher Khan or social finance, they will not charge you for this call. They will solve your query. They will resolve your query. They will provide you the statements over email. They will, their relationship manager will explain you the things. So these are called as the classical brokers, and this Zerodha, Grow, these are the new age brokers. These are the major challenges. So they have a very lean model. They don't give you any benefits of your reputation. If you have money, you trade it. If you don't have money, don't trade it. Simple as that. But when it comes to the classical brokerage, they know your history, they know your background. And in case of certain, what should be the name? In case of certain incontingencies, definitely they will take your side. But again, this is again your investment pattern, how you like to go about it. So I have a few more questions, but I will like to check with the moderator. Do we have time to continue, or should we have a hard stop?
Yeah, you can take a few more questions.
Sorry, can you be a little louder?
Yeah, you can take a few more questions.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. Okay, so the next question is, if we can invest in the mutual fund. Okay, that is done. Zerodha and Angel one is done. Can you hedging? Okay, quite good, Akshat. Hedging is entirely a different thing, and as in the asset classification, I have mentioned about the alternate investment. So the hedging, venture capital, all these are the separate systems. And hedging is nothing, as a hedger, we use that term in a different way. And when it comes to the investing purpose, the hedging is a little bit different. But when we, as a small retail investors, when we say hedging, we cover our side, we cover our one position. So for example, you are long in Reliance, and you are having some sort of feeling that probably Reliance might not do that well during the budget. You will like to hedge your position by creating a counter position. So counter position means the opposite of what you are having. So for example, you are having a Reliance share, you will like to secure your side by selling the Reliance share. But now if you sell the Reliance share, definitely you are nullifying it. So now you have to opt for some different product in future and option. So probably when you are having a Reliance in cash equity, you will like to sell your Reliance futures. And that's how you try to hedge your position. Next question is about the quant mutual fund, because the news was about insider trading. Yes, it's good to know that you are quite updated about the quant mutual fund and what is happening in the market. But if you see what is the AUM with the quant and what is the amount of investment is at the question. So the quant AUM is almost 90 lakhs crore. Okay. And at the same time, the amount invested in some, the companies where they are saying that some front running took place, it's not even 10 crores. It's very minuscule. And this is somehow the quant has got some more publicity with this negative comments. Okay, so I'm no one to comment on their financial stability. But if you ask me, my opinion, the numbers are quite insignificant to affect the overall return of the quant. So it's quite in sync, and it's perfectly okay. But still we have to wait and watch, and like how the overall scenario takes place. Shall we invest in mutual fund or equity? If you are a new investor, definitely you should start with the mutual funds. And then once you are having a good habit of observing the market, tracking the market, you should start on your own. Next question is how to start SIP from classical brokers. Brokers are different and the mutual funds are different. So mutual funds are from the AMCs, asset management companies. Okay. So brokers will help you to open your account and to create an SIP, but ultimately it will go to the AMCs, the big AMCs, HDFC AMC, ICICI AMC, the Quant, what we have talked about, the Motilal Oswal also. They all these are the fund houses, so they are having their own AMCs. So classical broker will only help you out with regards to the documentation. Once it is done, once your SIP is streamlined, definitely you will directly transacting with the AMC only. Next question is, give us the share that we can invest in some. Okay, again, this is something which I will not like to comment about the investment opportunities. Just I can give you the class. As you are quite younger in the age, you have a long journey in your career also, in your financial journey also. You have to start with the large cap stocks. You have to start with where you have the minimum return, a minimum risk, and the return will be also moderate. Definitely, the more the risk, the more the return. That's a quite common thing. You are willing to accept more risk, you might end up double your money, or you might end up losing your entire money. So to start with, you should always go for the safe bets. You should go for the large caps only and park your money over there. And the mutual funds are the best. In mutual funds also, as I said, 1500, 1600 schemes are there. So within that, you have to select which AMC you will like to go for. Within AMC, which product you will like to go for. The large cap, mid cap, small cap, multi cap. So many different things are there. The next question is about, so how to invest in SIP. You can probably, Vashir, you should just try to log in one of this app, which is where you have to submit your bare minimum documents. And then it's quite easy to navigate those apps. So you have to just put that money over there, that 500 to start with, or it can go up to any amount of your interest. And then every month you have to select the date. From which date you want to deduct the money from your bank account. And then it will be automatically confirmed within next 2 hours. ETF good investment option. Definitely, why not? So many ETFs are there in the market, and ETFs are generally replicating the returns of that particular underlying asset, and it's obviously a good option. And just to give an example, again, the silver ETFs, CPSE ETFs, these are the good things which are doing quite well in the nowadays. How to select best stocks to invest. For that, there was one particular slide. So for stock selection, you have to have your own fundamental research. Within the fundamental, you should do the quantitative research and the qualitative research. And when I said quantitative, it's about the balance sheets, ratios, how they have done in past. When it comes to the qualitative research, who is the management, what is their corporate governance, what is the overall rules and regulations in that particular industry. As an example, again, the tobacco is not that favorable, but renewable energy, it's quite favorable. So this is the research you have to do when it comes to the stock selection. The next question is about ETFs and the returns. Yes, ETFs are good, as I already mentioned. Next is about, should we stop? Because we are still getting in more questions. I don't mind, but I guess you have a next session also. So can you just confirm what is the status of that next session?
So the next speaker is here.
Okay, so should I stop now?
Yes, I'll just do the vote of thanks.
Okay, sure.
It is my privilege to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Bhaven Doshi, sir, for today's enlightening lecture. Your insight and expertise have provided us with a deeper understanding of the field of finance and stock markets. We appreciate the time and effort you have dedicated to sharing your knowledge with us. Your contribution has undoubtedly enriched our learning experience. Once again, thank you, sir, for your valuable presence, for answering each and every question and making this session a memorable one.
Thanks, Niharika. Thank you, everyone. And thanks to the wonderful participants. Thank you, Tasneem, for giving this opportunity. And I will just agree. I will just like to comment that, the participants are quite literate with regards to the market. And again, I have to acknowledge that this is the generation what we are talking about. When I was of your age, definitely I was not that well versed. And that's the reason I'm quite astonished that I'm quite excited also that you guys are doing amazing. You guys are having a deeper understanding of the market and willing to learn more and more. So wish you all a very nice financial journey. And if anyone has just missed the bus, it's still not late. Please start investing in mutual funds. Please start learning about it as soon as possible. And finances, as I said in the beginning of the session, Finance is one of the topic which is going to remain with you throughout your life. So never ignore the financial literacy. Learn about the finances more and more to generate more and more returns in your benefit. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhavin. It was a really nice session. I'm sure the students are really going to benefit from this. And we hope to have you with us, many more times and share, more insights with them.
Thank you. Thanks again, Tasneem. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will take your leave with this. Thanks. Bye.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
are.
Yes. Very good morning, everyone. Now we'll be beginning with our second session. And for that, I would like to call upon Anjali Danani ma'am to introduce our guest speaker. Over to you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Akshay. Thank you, Akshay. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Priyamada Sawant. She's a professor at HR College of Commerce and Economics. She teaches interdisciplinary subjects like FC, IPS, VAC. She has done her MA and MPhil in history from University of Mumbai and her PhD in international relations from JNU New Delhi. Her area of interest is world affairs and maritime history. She has anchored and presented various television and radio programs. At HR, apart from classroom teaching, she has engaged students in various literary, cultural, and skill programs through different club activities. Welcome, Dr. Priyanka.
Thank you, Anjali. So I think it's now my time to share. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. So I've shared the screen. I hope the screen is visible as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So welcome all. Thank you very much for inviting me for this special lecture series, because I'm hoping that this is just a beginning of our long journey and long association in HR. Not too long, of course. You're going to graduate in a matter of 3 years' time or so, and with the choice of subjects. And I'm hoping that this is going to be not a very arduous, but a very interesting, joyful journey as well. So today for a lecture, as you can see, I'm seated in a computer laboratory, and there are students around me studying, and there's a parallel lecture going around. There's a bit of a adjustment that we have kind of ensured for this lecture today, for the simple reason. PPT in full screen. All right, I'll go there. Yeah, there you get it now. So yes, as Anjali has introduced me, Professor Anjali has introduced me, I have been teaching in HR for a while now, and my area of interest, I would say, is of course history, maritime history. I'm not sure how many of you would have heard about maritime history, because many of the people think that, oh, history is just something which has gone past by, and how is it relevant? But my other area of interest, as I see it, is also what one can talk about as international relations of countries with each other. You just learned about finance, right? And much of the focus, as I could probably understand, was about how on a personal level, on an individual level, you can make investments, help your money grow. But of course, the world matters. The world markets matter. Finance is not just something that an individual can do, but the entire world, the countries can come together and assess how the performance can be. Priyanshu talks about our maritime history, will tell us about ancient trade, ancient cities, and much more. Wonderful. I love it. I already am loving this batch. All right.
So I'm making a short presentation about India and the world. Now, the big thing is, just give me a moment. As I just kind of pull out my notes here. 1 minute. What's happening? 1 minute. So I just want to talk about when we refer to India and the world, what would the title is very large. The title can be seen as something which is very broad. And Sandesh talks about international affairs being a favorite topic. So I'll come to your chats and your comments a little later. Let me go ahead with this. So India and the world would mean what? It would mean many things. Yeah, it could mean one can talk about India's role in the world, or it could mean world's perception of India, or it could also mean how India sees the world, and so on and so forth. So there are ways in which one can look at it. It can mean many things. What I want to talk about is how India engages with the world, or how India cooperates with the world. So it can, as I said, mean multiple things. India's approach to the world, or world's approach towards India, India's own dynamism, India's own connections with the world. What is India's worldview? How do we see the world? Because you must have heard a lot of people talking about what India is. There was a time when people used to talk about India being a land of snake charmers, India being a land of people who ride on the elephants like the mahouts, India being people who walk on dusty roads, India being people who just wear a loin cloth and just walk around bare because it's very hot and humid. So there's a lot of the image of the country in the mind of many has largely been dictated by how we were ruled and who we were ruled by. So we were also always being shown as poor, poverty, unemployed, uncivilized, and so on and so forth. That's how a lot of those who have been colonized would want to see India, or they thought they could see India. But now, of course, the perceptions are changing. We are no longer being seen that way. I hope so. But how does India see the world? How do we look at the world? How do we look at Africa? How do we look at Europe? How do we look at people in Japan and China? How do we look at Australia? Do we even bother about them? How do we look at Latin America, Brazil, Peru, Argentina? How do we look at these people? What are our perceptions? What is our idea of US and its power over the world? So there are a lot of ways in which we want to think about the world as well. And then we also look at the impact that our ideas have on the world, as well as what the world thinks or the world's matters, and how the world looks at different things, and how does that impact us. Finance of the world. When COVID happened some time ago, you saw how things change across the world. And of course, India's engagement. So I would rather focus on India's engagement, India's connection with the world. And that's where I want to talk about India and the world. So this is how we are positioned. Look at it very carefully. I love maps, and I hope some of you will also appreciate it. Here we are, very broadly kind of identified here. But you look at this large, big continent of Africa, a little away from us. But before that, we have the entire land of West Asia, or what we refer to as West Asia, but others call as the Middle East. Above that, then you have China, then Russia, which was the earlier USSR or Soviet Union. Next to that, you have Europe on the left, and then you cross the entire Atlantic, the North Atlantic and the South Atlantic, and move towards the American continent, where you have the United States of America, you have Canada, of course, Mexico, Latin America, which has got a host of other countries. And of course, it's a globe, right? It's round. So you can access Pacific from Japan as well. So you look at India, how positioned it is in the world, on the globe. And I would look at it and say, well, it's quite strategically positioned to think about. There are so many countries around us. There are continents spread around us. There are oceans spread around us. And we practically seem to be having access to all of them if we do want to think about it. So here is a map. Now think about the countries around us. I just showed you something which earlier was, kind of broadly showing the continents. Now look at it. Here we are, India, as you see it. You have on Arabian Sea on the left. So once you start coming to HR, and for those who have already been with HR in 11th and 12th would know that you just have to walk 1 minute from HR in one of your free lectures. I repeat, in one of the free lectures, or once the lectures are over, and just walk for 1 minute and you will reach the Marine Drive. And you see the vast Arabian Sea spread in front of you. It appears blue here, but it does not look blue anyways. It just is very gray for many reasons. And then you have on the east, you have Bay of Bengal. Down south, you have the Indian Ocean, the vast Indian Ocean. I'm going to come to one of the maps later of the Indian Ocean as well. But look at how we are connected. Yeah, beside, next to us, neighboring countries, you have Pakistan. Soviet Union is no longer there. It is disintegrated, and now it's Russia and the other, countries around Ukraine and Kazakhstan and Tajikistan and Uzbekistan and so on and so forth. And then you have Iran, Saudi Arabia, which comes as a Persian Gulf. You have the whole of Africa this side. On the east of us is China and Japan, and then Myanmar, Thailand. So if you have Lakshadweep Islands, which belong to us, we have access towards Malaysia and Seychelles and Madagascar. We go down south. If you have Andaman Sea or Andaman and Nicobar Islands, we again have access on the east side to Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Thailand, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, it goes all the way down south till Australia. So it's a very fascinating map. It's a political map, of course, which looks at, and there can be much better maps than these. There can be much more intricate, elaborate maps than these as well. But I'm just showing you what I'm trying to say as India's position in the world as we see it around, and more importantly, its position within the waters, because as I said, my area of interest is maritime history. This is something which immensely interests me as such, to learn about how oceans, waters, sea, river bodies or water bodies have impact on people. These are not freshwater bodies that I'm talking about. These are not the water bodies we can rely on in emergencies or even otherwise to quench our thirst. But these make a tremendous impact on our lives, because a lot of trade goes through these. Marine animals, marine life, which exists here, gives us a tremendous amount of life support that we need on a day-to-day basis. A lot of people, I don't know if you have ever thought about it. Delhi is a place which is very close. It's land. The surroundings are all land, so it's landlocked. While Mumbai is something which has access to the sea, and a lot of them would want to believe that because of the sea, because of the vast oceans that we have around us, the waters, the levels of pollution can be brought down tremendously, because ocean takes it away. And that is why they need to survive well. The marine animals, plants, biology need to survive well, so that we all survive well. So there are many different ways that one can look at it. This might seem a little hazy, but I just wanted to quickly talk about how through the seas and the oceans and the ports, we reach out to the other countries. So these are some of India's own ports, which are located in these areas. So look at how far we have our own ports that way. Chabar is something which is recently a lot talked about. Many of them are talking about Chabar because, of course, we are trying to challenge China because China has Gwadar here, and we are trying to build our own Chabar here. So what is India? When I talk about India in the world, what really is India? Which land is this? Of course, it's the 7th largest territory area-wise across the world. But here you have a country which, as I said, is bound by land on the north and is open to the seas in the south. So we are, of course, the most populated, 1.4 billion population. We have surpassed China, as one can look at it. But we also have something very interesting, and that is we don't have an aging population. We have a very young population. What does that mean? It means that we have a working population. We have a population which can contribute to the nation's development. We have a population that can enhance our abilities in the world. We have a population that can immensely be an asset for the development and the growth of the country. And I'm not talking only in economic terms. I'm talking in terms of emphasizing India's role in the world as well. So about 65% of the current population, as is understood, is below 35 years of age. And India is one of the world's largest economy. Look at this. This is the IMF data as of July 1st, 2024. So it's very recent. So US is on the top, China, Germany, Japan, and India. And a lot of them do think about it as India should be climbing up the ladder. Very soon, we are projected to be the third largest economy in the world, projected to be, not yet there. But this is, as I said, the recent data where we see India being on the number 5 in terms of one of the largest economies of the world. And that is no mean job. To think about a country which got independence in 1947, was colonized by the Britishers for more than 150 years, was left poor, was left unemployed, was left illiterate, and then for a country to climb up ladders slowly and steadily and reach to such a position where the world is now sitting up and taking cognizance of us and considering us as an important partner in their affairs as well. We are becoming a great power in our own efforts, as we can see it. And all this, of course, has not happened without efforts being put up by every single leader, people, generations who have contributed. But a major change, of course, came after the globalization, which is 1991. And that is where we started assessing ourselves well and projecting ourselves to the world in a very different manner. So we are one of the world's largest economy. We are one of the most powerful countries when it comes to military strength, defense strength. We are 4th, actually, and I'm going to talk about that as well. We are seen increasingly as a voice of the global South. What is a global South? Which is, again, all these countries which are, we are, of course, northern to the equator, but all the countries which are what used to be referred to as the third world countries, like America, Europe, were all being seen as first and second world. But Africa, Latin America, I'm sorry, Asia, South Asia, was all seen as something which was left colonized, left poor, left under the imperialism. And this is where India takes a lead to ensure that we are being seen as a leader. So a lot of African countries, a lot of Latin American countries, South Asian nations, Arab nations saw us as a leader who will take the projected struggle against colonialism ahead. And even today, now that most of them are independent, even today, India is seen as a voice of the global South. We put our terms and conditions ahead in front of the larger world to say that India's voice should be heard. If some of you would remember, recently in the G20, we decided to kind of, accommodate the African countries. And we said that this is, again, a voice that we want to hear. So India has been taking lead in many of the issues to open up some of the issues in front of the world in regard to the concerns that have been there for the other countries. Of course, we are the world's largest diaspora. Oh my God. 17 point. I mean, we are not just Indians who are hugely populated as a nation, but we also are in every country. Possibly, I can't really say every country. I don't have the statistics, but we have the largest diaspora. You go to countries, oh my God, have you not thought about it? Like any, on a vacation, if you go to visit anywhere, any country, whether it's Europe or Africa or America, you see Indians everywhere. We eat our Indian food. I have people who go to Switzerland and say, oh my God, we had the best chola bhaturas in Switzerland. And I said, when did Switzerland start serving chola bhaturas or pohas and shiras and upmas? Well, we are all over the world practically. So we are the world's largest diaspora, 17.5 million strong, and the figure could be a little more as well. World's largest producer of milk, pulses, jute. India also has the third largest startup economy in the world. So we're there. We're almost there, as we can think about. And we are making ourselves heard as well. But is this the first time that we have reached out to the world? Is this now that the world is sitting up and taking cognizance of our existence and saying, oh, wow, India, really, great country, yeah, great food, great people. Not really. We look at our connects with the world in the much ancient times, since the ancient times. These are the ruins of the Indus Valley civilizations, and all of us know. So this is Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal. You have studied this in the school. I'm not taking history class here. Please don't mistaken me, because that will mean taking it in a different direction. I'm only going back in times and trying to establish our links with the world, the country's links with the world. Was there something like India during the Harappa and the Mohenjo-daro times? No, because these two sites today are in Pakistan, if you look at it that way. So if I have to talk specifically, strictly about country and a nation, I'll have to include the larger Indian subcontinent as I see it. So during this period also, which is 2,500 years ago, we had links with Egyptian and the Mesopotamian civilization. As somebody had just suggested earlier while in the chat, yes, somebody talked about pyramids as well, but in different context. And earlier, I think somebody also was talking about, have I lost it somewhere? Anyways, about how people reached out to them because they used to trade. They used to use the waters, the seas, the oceans to reach out to these civilizations. And they used to trade in beads. They had wonderful brick factory. Of course, they never traded bricks, but they carried their weights and measures. So you see remnants or seals such as these, the ones which I have put on the right-hand side of the screen, being found in the other countries as well, which means that there was a trade, there was an interaction with the other countries. So we always were in touch with the world, with the other civilizations, with the other nations. This is not the first time that India is being thought about. In fact, the word Indus is Sindhu River Valley. And so Sindhu becomes Indus becomes India, and that's how we kind of, or Hindus, as I would say, Sindhus and the Hindus and the India that we look at now. So sometimes the words that we refer to, we probably should look into a little more deeply about the origin of it all. So the culture of India has traveled far and wide, particularly in the East Asian nations. As I said, on the Western side, we reached out to Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia today would be Iraq. Egypt is Egypt, Misr, as they call it. But on the Eastern side also, in Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia, Japan, Sumatra, everywhere, Indian culture reached. How did it reach? In many ways, and I'll come to that part as well. Like, who are the people who took this culture? Did they have an agenda to carry a culture? Like, nowadays, some of the people have a certain agenda to carry their culture and religion and so on. We are not looking at that. Certainly not. What we are looking at is, as people traveled, as they interacted, as they reached out to the others, they realized that, oh, there's so much that they can share with each other. And this is how it all began. The whole journeys began. And then the fascinating journeys of how we connected with the world. And there are stories and stories. There are stories of communities, there are stories of nations, the stories of people and individuals, and how Indians made their mark in all the places they went, and how we, in turn, the nation in turn, became enriched with the kind of connections that were established with the others. So here on the left of your screen, you see Ramayana being in the Thai, the Khom script. So this is how kind of the picture is and the projection is of Ramayana. Then on the right-hand side, you see the Ramayana in Angkor Wat, which is in Cambodia. And there are, of course, a lot of temples there in Cambodia. 1 minute. Yeah. So there are a lot of temples in Cambodia, and Angkor Wat is one of the world famous temple complex where you see a projection of Ramayana here as well. So stories have been a part of, epic stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata have been part of not just India, Indian boundaries, Indian culture, but this culture has moved to other countries, other nations, other people who have equally embraced it. And as I said, we have all been enriched in that entire process. And I do not want to restrict myself only to the Ramayana and Mahabharata, but these are the earliest references that we can look into, one can talk about. And this is just one that I'm looking at. There can be many, many more such references. I leave it completely upon you to now explore and see. If you go to Thailand, you might want to buy a ticket to a certain performance on the stage where Ramayana is performed, but in the Thai style. So again, you go to Japan, Buddhism, China, Confucianism, of course, that is very peculiar to China. But how religions, how epics, how stories from this land have spread over to the world, How did they spread? Who were the people who took these stories along with them as such? We'll look at it. Apart from this, again, as I'm saying, if religions like India is the original religions which started from this country, of course, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, these are the religions which originated in this country. But did they travel elsewhere, or they did, or how much they did? And they, of course, they changed a little bit of their shape and their size. And they also probably changed a little bit of what can say, their, some of the teachings, learnings also went in a little bit of change, but the core remained intact. So you have Buddhism. The picture that you see is of the caves in India. This is the Ajanta cave. And there you have the Buddhist images, because there are a lot of caves in India, ancient caves, which are Buddhist, Jain, and Hindu caves as well. So a lot of Buddhist sites that we see. Now, currently, the government is trying to ensure a certain, what you call a Buddhist circuit, which is a tourism, from the tourism angle, to engage people, encourage them to travel to these places. So you have Sarnath, then you go to Sarnath in UP, then you go to Gaya. From Nepal, you come from Lumbini, and then you come to UP, Bihar, and accordingly. So look at the circuit, look at how the spread of Mahayana Buddhism particularly, which is in the red, and then the early Buddhist schools, which are in black. So you see it all here. And then, of course, the Theravada and Vajrayana, the Tantric Buddhism and all, it's like spread across the world. It was thanks to the effort of Emperor Ashok in the 4th century BC, where he encouraged a lot of emissaries, people from his own kingdom, to go and reach out to the world. He said, I'm not going to fight any war anymore now. I'm only going to promote my thought on religion. And this is how slowly and steadily Buddhism spread in many countries. Of course, Ashok was a major force. Emperor Ashok was a major force behind this, but he was not the only one. People came from far and wide. We have the famous Chinese scholars, Fahian, Itzung, who came to India, stayed here for 10, 12, 20 years, studied these. So, as I said, in the entire process that we're looking at, is everyone able to hear? Tisha says she can't hear. Are we good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry. Thank you very much. So here we come across, as we see religion, not just religion, but as I said, along with religion comes culture. Is culture a part of religion? Are they two different things? I would not say so. But culture is much wider a concept as compared to religion. And one should never restrict it only to that. Religion is not culture, and culture is not religion. Sometimes one might want to look at it a little differently. But you also understand that as the spread of people, as people move from one region to another, how it encompasses the rest of the world. In this case, you can see much of the action is happening on the East Asia side. So from India, maximum it has gone to Afghanistan, because Emperor Ashok ruled in Afghanistan also. So up till there, and then you see much of the Southeast Asia as well as the East Asia being covered. So much of the activity is happening on this side of the world when it comes to the spread of Buddhism. So this way, as I said, a lot of people moved. So who were the people who were going? Who are the people who are taking Indian culture, values, art across and reaching out? There were traders, there were merchants who from early times, as I said, the Indus Valley civilization times, have been traveling and carrying their wares, carrying their products, carrying their finished goods and reaching out to distant lands just for what you heard the earlier lecture, finance, for money, earning. This was something that they were brought up to believe, and this is what they kept doing. There were travelers, there were scholars, there were peace messengers, like the way Ashoka sent. Emperor Ashok sent his daughter Sanghamitra and son Mahendra. And he said, I'm sending you as peace messengers, reach out to other countries, go to other people, across the oceans, meet people and spread the message of Buddhism. Scholars, activists, artists, anti-colonialists, freedom fighters. At a later stage, you see them also traveling across the other countries to engage with other people and make them aware of India's colonial status. Of course, there were soldiers, there were workers, diplomats, leaders, all will come in the course of my discussion here. So after the early cultures that we're talking about, we come to the Mughal Empire period. And what was so special about this period, about these are some of the women, the Jahara Begum and Noor Jahan of the Mughal times. What really happened? What changed in India during the Mughal period? And of course, it was largely as I said, northern one, but over a period of time, slowly and steadily, it encompassed almost the whole of India. I won't say the whole of India, because down south kingdom still remained far away from the Mughal influence to a certain extent, not throughout. But one thing that the Mughal Empire did was it connected India with Central Asia, because a lot of them kind of owed their ancestors there. It connected India with the Gulf region, Iran, Persia. There was a lot of Persian influence in Shivaji's court as well as Mughal courts. It connected India with Turkey, the Ottoman Empire. So you have the Safavid, which is the Persian Empire. You have the Ottoman Empire on the west, which is Turkey. And then you have India. And so Mughal Empire, in a way, what happened was it had a broader connect with the rest of the region, both on the east and the west side. Of course, it did not go much to the Southeast Asia, the way Ashoka's empire, or during the early period, 6th to 4th century that we're looking at, much of the spread of Buddhism and the movement was towards the East Asia. But during the Mughal period, much of the spread, as I said, was connected to Central Asia, towards the Gulf region, towards the West Asia, and towards the extreme Turkey and so on. Much of a landed region, because Mughals did not pay so much attention to navy, oceans, water connects, but it was more of a land-dominated empire. And that is where we reached out, or India was influenced by them. Indian culture influenced. I mean, it was a syncretic culture, as one can look at. Then came the British. And the British brought in their own ideas, their own value systems, their own institutions, and their own way of ruling. The result was the revolt of 1857. Did the revolt of 1857 remain limited just to the Indians? No. It did have an impact, although, in fact, a lot of people would say, oh, come on, the revolt just happened in the north, the south, India did not even know anything about it, which is true. But at the later stage, when the world came to know about the revolt, there were many other countries which responded to it by saying, if this could happen against the British or against the colonialists in India, why can it not happen with us? So with the British colonial status, much changed for us, our institutions, our approaches, our understanding. But most importantly, you know what changed? The way the world looked at us changed, because now they were looking mostly through the British eyes, through the colonial eyes. So if you look at the picture, this is a picture by Thomas Barker, and you see, which is about Lucknow after the 1857. You see how the British are projected. You can easily make them out, how they are and where they are. And you can see the Indians, how they are and where they are. And of course, much of it is dominated by the British. But look at the projection in which Indians are shown. And this has most of the times been so. Either they're shown as extremely poor, and I can show you hundreds and hundreds of such pictures, which can be interpreted. There's something interesting like an interpretation of a picture also. When you go to museums, when you go to exhibitions, you don't just look at a picture and walk away. You stay with it. I would say embrace it, not physically embrace it, but embrace the whole, the entire painting, the way the sketches are, and then look into the finer points. Look at the images, look at what is in the background. What do you see in the background? Look at it. Lucknow, is it? And then slowly and steadily, you make more sense of the picture. You should let that, picture seep into you. And then I think there's the fun in understanding more about it. So you see how the English projected themselves, the British. They ruled over us for, as I said, more than 150 years. And while they did that, they, of course, projected India through their eyes. How did that happen? Because they were the ones who were writing our history. They were the ones who were talking about us. They were the one who told the world, this is what India is, in good ways, bad ways, but the ways they understood it. And that is how we got projected every now and then for years and years together. It took a long effort for Indians to break those ideas. Rabindranath Tagore, who won the Nobel Award for his Gitanjali and a prolific writer that he was. Gandhi, who even today is seen as a leader for the world. The Non-Violence Day is celebrated at the United Nations today on 2nd of October. And these people apart from these two, many others who changed the perception of India to say, no, this is not what we are. Freedom struggle was not won only by Gandhi's efforts, I would say, but what he gave was unsurpassable. What he talked about was not just that we want freedom for our country, but we also want our country to be modern. And that we can do not with the help of British, but even otherwise. And so these were, as I said, tremendously influential people or influential leaders who ensured that the world sees us a little differently. They, through their learnings, their teachings, their ideas, their writings, change the perception of how the British could have looked at, how the colonial masters could have looked at India, and now how we should be looked at. And today the world started looking up to them. They today have been, not just today, but even then, had been figures who others wanted to look up to. There's so many struggles. Martin Luther King Jr. was inspired by Gandhi. African freedom struggle was inspired by Gandhi's idea of freedom struggle. So they changed the whole dynamics. I would say, what you call is the term as a game changers. Gandhi's ideas turned to be game changers. The British said, Maro, Pito. And Gandhi says, no, we are not going that way. We are looking differently. I'll tell you what, it's a very deep philosophy. A lot of people would say, Acha, Gandhi matlab Munna Bhai style. It's not really that way, although it's wonderfully done movie. But one has to really read these people, their writings, understand, learn a little about them to understand what the philosophy is and how and why it changed. Why was it so impressive? Why across the countries, across the world, they still were seen as leaders who could make a difference as such. I'm putting it here. I'm going a little faster because I think all right, we still have a little time. This is something, the No Chapelle Memorial in France, which is a memorial dedicated to Indians who fought the First World War. Now, both the wars that Indians fought had nothing to do with India, honestly. It had to do with the British. The British participated in the World War, and that is how they fought the war. They needed soldiers. They pulled soldiers from India and the rest of the countries wherever they were, they were ruling over. But this is a memorial in France, which was, I think, erected in 1927, if I'm not mistaken, about that time, to respect and recognize the contribution of Indians in the First World War. So you can see many such memorials, as you can probably dig out more from the Google search as well, because Indians reached everywhere. This was not a war which was Indian war, but the soldiers fought for the British. But even that kind of needs to be recognized because they had no other choice. They were people in the British army serving the British, and they had no other choice but to tag along wherever the British colonial masters dictated them or ordered them to go. But these are some places. If you go to some of the graves or graveyards, you will see tombstones or stones where you have Indian names written to say Indian soldiers were here. So that way, as I again say, the impact has been tremendous. Now, this is a very recent one. The earlier one I showed you, this is a stamp which the government of India had issued in 2019. This is the latest one. Almost latest, I would say 2023. This is the news of July 2023, which is Indian soldiers who played a dominant role in the Second World War. And about 50,000 Indian army soldiers were involved. Again, the British were ruling us. We had no choice. The Indian soldiers tagged along with them, but their contribution gets recognized. So today, we are actually identifying, going to country and reaching out and checking where Indians had lived. Some of them probably died. Some of them stayed, married, locals. But there has been an Indian element in many ways than one that one can look into. So this is a dial, a sundial, as you can see. And this is seen as a sundial memorial at Perugia in Italy. And this is a tribute to the Indian troops who fought during the Italian campaign during the Second World War. So you again see Indian footprints being there in the world. While we were fighting so on one hand, as I said, there were the Indian soldiers who were forced to be a part of the British army and, fight their battles. On the other side, on the parallel side, we had the Indian leaders who were reaching out to other people in the other countries. So this is the Brussels conference in 1927. This is a league against imperialism. So the world leaders had come together who had been colonized, and they came together in Brussels to find an agenda and say, we must fight the colonial masters. Some were ruled by the British, some were ruled by the French, some were ruled by the Dutch, but they all wanted to fight against colonialism, and India was there. Indians were there. You see Jawaharlal Nehru here, and they attended this conference. They put ahead their agenda. They were reaching out, connecting with the rest of the people in the other countries, and making their mark. When India became independent, now this is something which becomes more interesting in terms of the recent times. When India became independent, what kind of a country we were? We were that time about, I think, 60 crore plus. Now we are more than double than that. We had high levels of unemployment, high rate of poverty, a lot of people below the poverty line, illiterate population, more than 80% of the people were illiterate, as one can look at it. So we really did not get a great India from the hands of the British, who left us completely dry, if I would say so. In terms of our economy, in terms of our infrastructure, and nothing great. People talk about it, they got the trains and they got roads and railways, but that's for their own good, not for the Indian good. India immediately became a part of the United Nations after independence. We became independent in 47. UN was established 2 years earlier, and we immediately became a part of United Nations. Why? We still are. India is an original member of United Nations, by the way. Now, some of you might wonder, if we became independent in 47 and UN was established in 1945, how come we were the original member? That is, again, thanks to the British decision. They wanted more supporters for themselves, and so India was taken as a separate head and an added representative. But nevertheless, we have been an original member of United Nations, and we are committed for the idea of peace, because that is something India believes, the nation as a value. We want peace, we want independence. This is something which we have emphasized through and throughout our foreign policy, that India will always cooperate, India will always support, India will never become a part of a military group or military dominant group. We will have our own defense, our own military, but we will never attack any other country. We will never be the first ones to attack. We will retaliate. We will safeguard ourselves. So that time, the country's leaders, Nehru and others, thought that it is probably prudent for countries like India to be a part of the UN. Why? Because weaker need the strength. Stronger can dictate. So US, USSR, they could dictate. But countries like India, African countries, Latin American countries were in no position to dictate. And so what we did was, we did something very, very unique, non-aligned movement. What did we do? We decided that after war, there was a Cold War. And in Cold War, we do not want to be a part of either of it. We don't want to be a part of US. We do not want to be a part of USSR. We are a newly independent country. We want to follow our own independent foreign policy. Can you imagine how difficult it could have been? Like, you have two giants, looking down at you and saying, well, you become a part of me. US saying, you be part of us. USSR saying, you be a part of us. And India, a poor, newly independent country, says, no, we don't want to. We want to have our own independent foreign policy. So this is how we reached out to the world. We decided not to become a part of the camp, the big camps, but we decided to be a part of our own independent, to follow our own independent foreign policy. And then what did we do? We reached out to all others. So Indonesia, you can see a lot of others leaders joining in as well. So Egypt, Indonesia, Yugoslavia, India, they all came together to form what is known as a non-aligned movement. Today, non-aligned movement exists. There are people, NAM exists. And I think after United Nations, it is one of the largest bodies in the world with the largest number of members to think about. We have great neighbors. We have great neighbors. You agree? Do you agree that we have great, great neighbors? That we could have been strong and stronger had we had this wonderful, wonderful relationship with all our neighbors. But well, things are not that way. You know, as they say, you cannot choose your neighbors. आप घर खरीद लेते हो, you want to put in a lot of money, you want to select, हाँ नहीं हमको माहिम में रहना है, हमें बांद्रा में रहना है, हमको आगरा में रहना है, हमें यहाँ रहना है, वहाँ everywhere. And then you say, okay, I'm going to build a nice house, I'm going to buy a nice apartment, I'm going to spend 2 crores, 5 crores, I don't know how many crores. I'm going to get all the interiors done. Hello. You have no control over your neighbors. You can never choose your neighbors because you don't know who's going to be your neighbor. Somebody has just bought a land or a house next to you. You can't be choosing. You can't choose. We can't choose our neighbors. It's just the same way. We wish we had great, some of them have been good to us, some not very much. So these are the ones: Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, China, Maldives, Myanmar, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. All these are our neighbors, immediate neighbors, as I can see. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Maldives, of course, from the maritime boundary, not the land boundary. Sri Lanka, you have Gulf of Mannar, and Sri Lanka becomes our neighbor as well. So this is how we have our neighbors. And if India has to focus itself into world, we need to have great uh, relations with our neighbors. It can't happen that you stretch your hand and you kind of reach out to US. You have to first immediately reach out to your neighborhood, and then you can reach out to the rest of the world. Having good relations with neighbors is one of the most significant factor that influences your rise as a dominant nation. Like, we can't be a big nation, the top economy in the world, and bad relations with neighbors. Doesn't work. How do we do that? We are trying to do that, and that is why when the first time the Prime Minister, who's now enjoying his third term, took his oath for the first time in 2014, he invited all the SAARC leaders. What is SAARC? Anyone knows? Can anyone put it down in chat? What is SAARC? SAARC group. It's South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, which means a lot of these leaders, all of them who are a part of the list that I gave you here, where is it? The list that I gave you here, where they become a part of a large grouping. The idea was that we all connect, correlate to bring a certain change in our relationship for better. Well, it did not work. And so in 2019, the Prime Minister invited the BIMSTEC leaders. BIMSTEC is Bay of Bengal Initiative, particularly in terms of cooperation in relation to technology and so on. So he said, forget Pakistan and Afghanistan, it's not working out fine for us, because they didn't stop creating, there were problems in between. And so they decided yes, thank you, Diksha. So they decided to forget about SAARC and 2000, not forget about SAARC, I would say, but away from SAARC, who we want to strengthen our relationship. So that time, Prime Minister Modi invited the BIMSTEC leaders in 2019 for his swearing-in ceremony. And the recent one, we have even let go of that, and we have invited the people who connect with us through ocean, because Indian Ocean is becoming very important for us now. And why, I'll talk about it in a moment. So Sagar. Yeah, Sagar is about security and growth for all in the region and neighborhood first policy. So we invited all these people this time in 2024. It just tells us that the Prime Minister, while taking oath, thinks which countries or which leaders of which countries will be important in terms of India's immediate connections to be established. This is how it has kind of projected itself. I already said, in matters of defense, Army, Navy, Air Force, we have been doing extremely well. We have the 4th largest army in the world. China could have been a little ahead, but lately China has tried to reduce its focus on army, and it is focusing more on navy. And that is why we rise one level up. Otherwise, we would have been 5th in terms of army, but now we are 4th. But China is going very strategic, and so one has to wait and look at it. So defense-wise, we are doing extremely good. We have upgraded ourselves big time. We are a peace-loving nation, but we, of course, have not forgotten that we need to also, a hungry nation also needs security. Yes, so even if we are peace-loving, we never have a doubt about it. But India persists in its attempt at strengthening its defense as well. So this is the strategic region, what they call the Indo-Pacific region. So you have a Pacific Ocean. Look at this side, Canada, US, and you have the Indian Ocean here. Do you get it? This is now becoming the great hub of activities everywhere across the world. All countries are in. France is interested in Indian Ocean. Australia, of course, is interested in Indian Ocean. There are a lot of European countries. EU is interested in Indian Ocean. Germany is interested in Indian Ocean. What have they to do with? They have their own oceans. Now you can always say, look at Mediterranean, look at Atlantic, but they all have interest in Indian Ocean. Why? because much of the world's trade happens through Indian Ocean. 95%, if I'm not mistaken, of India's trade happens through the Indian Ocean. This is a very vital. And have you noticed something? This is the only ocean in the world which has the name of a country, India. So this ocean is very dear to us. This is very important to us. This is something which is a part of our cultural, economic, financial, trade growth. And we cannot have any other controls of any other power in this region. And that is why we are tying up. So can you imagine Quad, QUAD, quadrilateral, which is India, US, Japan, and Australia. BRICS, which of course again has China in it. So we are trying to be connecting with all the countries in the world to ensure that our zones of movement or our sea lanes or our roads or our ways of movement remain free of any control and any hurdles. We continue to be committed to world peace, as I said, and so India has never contributed to a military or a police force which can attack other countries. But India today is the largest contributor to the United Nations peacekeeping forces. We have so far contributed more than 195,000 troops, which is the largest that any country could have ever contributed. And we also sent our first exclusive women team towards the peacekeeping. No other country in the world did that. We decided to go ahead with it. And they all have come back home with great bouquets and flowers and garlands saying that we have done a fantastic job. So again, as I'm saying, we never will become somebody who will send our forces to attack Gaza or to attack Ukraine or to attack whoever as a part of the common military exercises, but against another country. But we have been contributing steadily and regularly to the peacekeeping forces. And we are the largest contributor, which the United Nations also recognizes. When it comes to environment, India, again, is in the forefront. Of course, we use coal a lot. That fuel is polluting. We are committed. We want to see this planet. This is where we talk about the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is the world is a family, and we want to see it that way. We are committed to Paris Agreement, which Rio conference, of course, which had happened, India had participated, the Paris Agreement on climate change and ensuring less carbon footprints. So India remains committed to that. And we have also taken along with us a few other countries who we think and feel can contribute in this context. Do we have concerns? We do. We are not the best of the countries. We have a long, long way to go. Gender gap is still high in India. The status of women in India is not something that we can call as great. Happiness index, well, we are pretty low in happiness index. I think 137 or something out of 190 countries. Many other poor countries are ahead of us when it comes to happiness index. So we need to look into that. What does happiness mean? Satisfaction? Yeah, enough resources, jobs, and 136. Okay. So we are here. Environmental concerns. Country is a developing country and we have our problems, environmental problems, air pollution, water pollution, preservation of forests, biodiversity. Look at Mumbai. I mean, we keep getting flooded every now and then. Do you know there is this movement across the world which they are ripping off the pavement? They said we want to walk on the soil because these concrete roads are creating a lot of problem. They're not absorbing the water, and so there's a lot of flooding happening. So across the world, environment is an issue, and India is no exception to it, unfortunately. But we are trying our level best. But of course, we have a long, long way to go. We, of course, have boundary issues with countries. So these are our major security concerns. I don't need to explain more. You know that already. You've been reading in the newspapers. Terrorism is an issue which we have highlighted on the international front. We keep telling the world that this has to calm down. This has to shut down. Country after country will get impacted, but India has been the worst impacted of terrorism and the problems arising out of it. And we are at the forefront to ensure that this is a major agenda for the world to think about, discuss, even the United Nations. I'm coming to the end of my lecture now. We are connecting, as I said, India and the world. I started with the idea and said, what could it mean? Well, it could mean many things at the same time. It would mean that we are trying to be reaching out to the world. We are engaging with the world. And the latest in it is the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. This is how it looks like. Listen, I have borrowed all my images, which are, which should not have, which are mostly Wiki Commons. So they're mostly open in the domain and I don't have copyright issues. So I cannot bring out some specific ones, but I think this image is clear by itself. Middle East is West Asia for us because it lies to our west, but the Europe and America calls it a Middle East. So this is where it comes. From India, the proposed corridor will move over to the Gulf, which is West Asia. From there and onwards to Europe. This is to challenge China's BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, which China has been building roads and infrastructure across, trying to corner us and many other countries because it wants to be a world power. And why not? So this particular corridor is going to give a great advantage, not just to India, but also to Europe to combat the Chinese influence somehow, and India also to reach out to Europe very easily. So this is something which is one of the latest proposed, and the leaders are working on it, which means we are there, right? Europe is wanting to connect with us. West Asia, of course, is connected with us, and we are reaching out to the larger world big time. We never stopped reaching, actually. We were always there. As I said, right from the ancient times till the modern times, India was always in the eyes, in the thoughts, in the minds, and the efforts of the world community. We contribute, Indians contribute, the world reaches out to us as well. And as I said, this is a syncretic relationship. The country as a whole, it does not belong to one religion, one caste, one community, one set of people. It is made up of all of those together. And culture, maybe some other day when I talk about cultural issues and India's cultural hubs and so on, but I'll reserve it for some another day. Right now, I just want to talk about this here. Oops. As APJ Kalam had put, unless the country stands up to the world, no one else will respect us. So we have to ensure that we have a rightful place in the affairs of the world where we can become a strong voice, not because we want to dominate. The External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar, always says that we want to have a shared responsibility. Yeah, we don't want to dominate the world. We don't want to be the leader of the world to be able to control the world. We want to have a shared responsibility. We want to see a world which grows together, which develops together, and amicably settles matters together. So with this, thank you very much. I have shared what I wanted to say. All right. So thank you very much. Any questions, comments that if you want to, I can take another 1 minute or so. I've already crossed my time. Okay. I guess there are no questions. A few comments, but that's about it. Yes,
Ma'am, with your permission, can I proceed with the vote of thanks?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, ma'am.
Hi, Niharika. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, it's okay, ma'am. Yeah. It's my privilege to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Priyamvada Sawant, ma'am, for today's enlightening lecture. Your insights and expertise have provided us with a deeper understanding of the field, and your enthusiasm has truly inspired us all. We appreciate the time and effort you have dedicated to sharing your knowledge with us. Your contribution has undoubtedly enriched our learning experience. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable presence and making this lecture a memorable one. I would also like to thank our Honorable Principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, ma'am, and our Vice Principal, Dr. Rani Tyagi, ma'am, and our respected teachers. And also our dear FYs for joining in large numbers. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Nihal.